matter which third base you take. If you take the pocket third or the far third, you're still going to have a situation where they can bounce between those bases. And it just makes it so much more difficult to defend. desRow did do a good job of that in the early game, mid-game, but eventually Semper's relentless multitasking and aggression was able to take it down. To start things off, we do see desRow going for that gate expand before Cybercore, and Semper actually going to SCV Scout and get a reactor.
Very interesting. As you're saying, going for that fast reactor, he is still going to be getting that command center and everything, so he's not going to be playing anything super duper cheesy or, crazy going on. But we do have, desRow. I kind of wonder, is this sort of the game that we end up seeing maybe a Phoenix style or something? If you're really worried about the drops, if there is one thing I would like to say about Semper's style is that it really relies on a lot of those air units. Remember, we're talking about, I think we were calling him the Hawk, the Dark Hawk of the tournament, because he really just is always flying around everywhere. Maybe that Phoenix style would be a good answer to this.
Yeah, the Dark Hover Horse really does rely on medevac drops, and Semper, if desRow does end up going for that Phoenix style, it's going to be, I think, good against at least the openings of Semper. Nice job killing that probe, but desRow does get in, sees the expansion going down. Not going to be some crazy, super fast 1-1-1. Is getting the factory, but it's not going to be like some kind of crazy tank.
Yeah, it's not like factory before command center, like we're going up straight 1-1-1, boys.
Yeah, exactly, with that super fast second gas, basically an all-in 1-1-1.
Yeah, this is pretty much the style that we've been seeing out of Semper. Get the command center, go straight up to your medevac, go straight up to the drop capabilities and start putting on the pressure.
Yes, and on the other side of the coin, we actually see this Adept is going to be denying. Oh, wow, this is actually a big deal.
What a juke.
The SCV might be able to now scout the natural. That's actually a bit of a mistake from desRow. And yeah, he does see the natural.
Yeah, it's nice to see the natural, but I would say, especially when you're talking about desRow of anyone, the fear that your opponent is maybe like not expanding is, I think, a little bit lower, right?
Yeah, that is a really good point. Someone like desRow is almost always going to take it to the late game. But still, it's always nice to have that reassurance.
That comfort, that comfort level.
He did even throw down the scan, checking for that. He ended up being a Twilight Council.
And I think that's going to be a really nice find for him. Seeing that, losing the Adept, actually a little bit surprising, especially against just like a Marine push-out. Stalker are going to be a little bit better equipped than the Adept to push back these Marines.
Yeah.
But not the Cyclone, though. That's going to be pretty problematic because now, desRow is at a sum total of Observer and Probe.
Mothership Core's not even
there's no
close
Mothership
to
Core.
He was halfway done now.
He was rushing up for that blink, and this is really going to cost him. Amazingly enough, I think the Probe's getting us around, but that is not going to matter. GG, Semper.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, there is the grin from Semper, a little bit well earned over there as he says, okay, I guess the way that I beat desRow is I kill him in the early game.
Yeah, just Cyclone. One Cyclone and what was that, 7 Marines?
That was such an unordinary push, though, that I can kind of understand. desRow was cutting corners, 100% cutting corners, going for the Twilight Council and also going for Blink. And, I would even go so far as to say that late of a Mothership Core may have been a bit of a mistake.
Absolutely. It was. It really cost him. And it was a nice move from Semper. He actually recognized that the Stalker was going to make it to the high ground and break that leash. So he actually scanned, realized that desRow losing an Adept, losing a Stalker, that's probably going to be game over. Even targeting down the pylon while the probes were surrounding, recognizing that if he can prevent that pylon overcharge, he's pretty much going to win the game. And actually just killing all those probes, desRow could have stayed in the game for a little while longer. But it would have been over.
Yeah, exactly. And really, really sick damage done by Semper. And he does move on to the next round of the loser bracket. Unfortunately, desRow does exit the tournament. A little bit of painful loss. He had so many close games, I've heard, throughout this entire event. But unfortunately, does not end up taking any of them.
No, unfortunately, he does get knocked out. Really well played from Semper in that series. Got to feel nice to, after such an exhausting game, just get basically a pretty straightforward. I think that was maybe a 4 or 5 minute win.
Yeah, actually it was a very, very quick win.
Yeah.
But I think we are going to be going to the replay, I believe. As we see again, desRow versus Semper. And this is sort of, I think, a match that, again, a lot of people were expecting Semper to win. And a lot of people will look at the Aligulac or Liquipedo and they'll say, oh, yeah, 2-0 Semper. That's exactly what I expected. But you really have to watch this first game to see how close of a game it was.
Yes, and that was a really nice catch from desRow with those Stalkers. Does actually also even keep the last Stalker alive against that Cyclone.
Yeah.
Here is the big push, I think, where desRow, after having the lead for so long, he finally ended up overcommitting just a little bit.
And I want to actually note right now, you can see that desRow doesn't really have any way to reinforce this army. You can imagine right now as his money is building up, he's got a massive gas bank, he's got all these minerals. If he had been able to, in the middle of all of this, start to warp in that next round of units, get out a ton of Adepts, get out a ton of Zealots or something, Stalkers, to deal with this, you'll see how close this engagement ends up being. And you can just imagine if the reinforcements are coming in, suddenly he can maybe push this back.
Yeah, the other thing is blinking aggressively into those tanks after he'd already killed off the Planetary Fortress. Just, to be honest, a bad strategic decision. It's one of those things you think to yourself, oh, I've done a bunch of damage, I have the advantage, my army's really good, I can win. But he should have just pulled back. It is obviously easy for us to say that, but it ended up costing him game one. And here we see that Cyclone push, just focusing down that pylon after those units were dead. And there just wasn't anything that desRow was going to be able to do. Nice around with the probes, but...
yeah, I think it was mostly because Semper wasn't really caring about microing back out that way. He was like, oh, you don't have anything. I think I just kill you now.
Yeah, well, he wanted to focus down the pylon, too, in case the Mothership Core did pop out. He saw it building at the Nexus, but he just wanted to make sure it went down.
Yeah.
And, yeah, well played for Semper. He's got to be feeling good. That moves him up into the next...
Yeah, we won't really know who's playing because he's the first losers bracket player to actually play yet, and he's going to be playing the loser of one of the winners semifinals matches. So it's either going to be the loser of Masa versus Scarlet or Neve versus Puck. I think it might end up being the loser of Masa versus Scarlet. We could see potentially a Semper versus Masa rematch.
Possibly, or Semper versus Scarlet rematch. I would think it would be the loser of.
It's Neve versus...
Since the bracket should cross over, and then the loser of Masa Scarlet will end up playing the winner of No Regret and Huck, which should be a good series.
Brackets are confusing.
Yeah, they can be a little bit confusing looking at these brackets.
I should stop trying to pretend like I know how the loser bracket works. I've tried so many times that I've never gotten it right.
Well, luckily for me, since you got it wrong, I was able to then look like the smart one because there was only one other option. When you flip a coin, if it's not heads, it's probably tails.
Probably.
Yeah. But, so thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. That's what we're here for. Yeah. Watch each other's backs. But ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we are going to be hopping to a short little break. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for Kings of the North. We are far from done so far as we still have another losers bracket match, I believe, of Huck versus No Regret still coming up, as well as Masa versus Scarlet and Neve versus Puck happening later today. Don't go anywhere.